Today, we're looking at Diamine Sepia. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. I get inks, test them, and share the results with you. Now, Diamine Sepia is a brown ink. To make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples, I put the ink into a different pen for a day, I then put it into a Pierre Cardin President with a medium nib to take my notes for this video. Now, up first is the chromatography, and I agree with Vita that I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down and immediately put it into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And we see this kind of salmon-y color that's pushing its way up. Then we start to see some oranges come in and a line of brown across the top. It's very nice. The one on the right I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it into water. And that salmon-y color along the bottom, it's much darker and much more there. We still see some push up. We still see the orange come in. We still see that dark brown line across the top. But this is very much showing that particular tone we expect to be able to stay around. Resistance tests are done to see how this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it might be to clean from your pens. Now, I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, it basically handles itself okay. We do start to see some of the blurriness come in on the capital H and on the I and the top of the G. So there's some blurriness and feathering that does occur. It stays about an extra fine. So whether you should use it as a note taker is really a coin toss, completely up to you. Now, water is lifting most of this ink, but that salmon-y tone that we saw in the chromatography is still very much there and staying on the paper. The same thing is occurring with the pen flush. It's lifting all the darkest tones, but leaving that salmon tone behind, which makes me feel like pen flush is not going to be enough. 1/3 bleach solution is completely removing it from the page. Now, if you have to use a 1/3 bleach solution, just make sure that you completely flush your pen after so you don't rust your metal parts. For the inks I've tested, I have found an average viscosity of 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Diamine Sepia has a viscosity of 1.27, making this a very, very wet ink. To find my average dry times, I use my writing samples done with the extra fine and medium nib on Clairefontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. For the inks I've tested, I have found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with the realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Diamine Sepia has an average dry time of 17 seconds, making it not just normal, but average. Now, let's look at the writing samples. I picked this ink up in sample form, and that is likely to change. I've been really putting off using it up because I want to make sure I keep this on my radar because it is beautiful. This is a great, great sepia. To keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at the Clairefontaine. We get no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo sheen, and amazing, beautiful camouflage shading throughout. And this is why so many artists, when they're painting, they do underpaintings in a sepia or an umber. It is because of the beautiful tones and how it affects all of those colors. And this is the perfect example of it. It's like camouflage all over. And it's amazing. Looking at it, wow. The extra fine is slightly lighter a tone than the 1.1, ever so slightly. It has no feather, spread, halo sheen, and it's got amazing shading all over it. The starts light, it gets very dark into the H, light at the top of the H, very dark in the hoop, dark in the E. Quick starts dark and works light. Brown starts dark and works light. The K in quick, super dark. Fox starts light and works dark. The light to dark, over light to dark to mid to dark, beautiful, and 11 seconds to dry. I like brown inks, I know that. I know that sepia I prefer as a brown over umber. Although I enjoy them both, they're very different to me, but I do tend to prefer sepias. So I know that. I just put that out there because I have a color preference like a 5-year-old. Medium. Same tone as the extra fine, no feather, spread, halo sheen, gorgeous shading throughout all of it. Quick, we get the dark to light at the top, to mid, to dark, to light, to dark, to just light, to lighter, to dark. Oh my God! Brown starts super dark, works its way light, and gets dark again. Fox goes light to dark. It is nice. 16 seconds to dry. The scrubby of both show us plenty of color variation, and we got tons of it. And the smear test, I'm sorry, you can't recover it. Move on. Rhodia, no bleeding, some minor ghosting, minor, but there is ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, it has halo all over it. The whole thing is haloed, and it's gorgeous. No sheen and no shade. The extra fine is a significantly lighter tone than the 1.1. The extra fine has no feather, spread. It has haloing in areas. Wherever it's darker, it halos. When it's lighter, it doesn't. It's just how I'm seeing this. It has no sheen. It has shading and beautiful shading. Like the starts light, gets dark, gets light at the top of the H, dark back into the E. Nice. Quick starts dark, becomes very light, super dark at the K. Brown starts dark, works its way lighter, dark at the N. And when we see these dark areas, they have haloing. This is performing incredibly well with showing properties like the shading on Tomoe River, and Tomoe River usually hides that. 18 seconds to dry and worth it. Medium is the same tone as the extra fine. It has no feather, spread, haloing in the darker areas of writing. No sheen and beautiful shading. Quick, super dark to super light to mid-tone to super dark, light at the top of the K. Brown starts very dark and works its way lighter. Fox starts light and works dark. Amazing. 24 seconds to dry and so worth it. The scrubby for both shows plenty of color variation, and we got a ton of it. Smear test you can't recover. Sorry. Rhodia. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather, spread, halo sheen, and not really any shading. Sorry. The extra fine is a slightly lighter tone than the 1.1. It has no feather, spread, halo sheen, and it does offer some very nice shading throughout the writing. Like the goes light to dark to lighter to very dark at the tips of that E. Quick goes very dark to a mid-tone to super dark. Brown starts dark and works light. Fox starts light and works dark. Now I know that this is a lot of the pattern of my writing, but when I get to see it from the ink as well, it is great. 13 seconds to dry. Now medium is the same tone as the extra fine. Medium has no feather, spread, halo, sheen, and beautiful shading. Fox, super light to super dark. Brown is a mid-tone all the way to the O, which is super dark. W gets to mid-tone, N gets to very dark again. The left side of quick and the K in quick, super dark, but the rest nice light tones. The starts very light, gets very dark at the HE. Beautiful. 17 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us plenty of color variation, and we got plenty of color variation. And the smear test, I do not think you could recover this if you smeared while you were writing. Original Crown Mill. A lot of bleed spots coming through. We see there's very, very minor ghosting. I don't think this would stop you from using the page on the back. It definitely doesn't deal with the next page at all. So no real bleeding. A couple tiny spots occurred. Okay, especially in the medium. No real ghosting. The 1.1 is no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. Sometimes this paper, being a little more absorbent, eats up some of what it has to offer. The extra fine is a significantly lighter tone than the 1.1. It has no feather spread, halo sheen, and it ate the shading. It went away. 6 seconds to dry. Now medium is a darker tone than the extra fine, but just a little lighter than the 1.1. Medium has no feather spread, halo sheen, or shade. 10 seconds to dry. The scrubby of the extra fine shows some color variation, but I didn't get any. The medium shows none, and I got none. In the smear test, you could not recover this if you smeared while you were writing. Black and red notebooks. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, no shade. Again, this paper doesn't tend to bring, get a lot of shading. So it's really against the ink. The extra fine is a significantly lighter tone than the 1.1. It has no feather spread, halo sheen, and it does offer some shade spots, some dark spots. The H in the B in brown, the K in quick, H in the, P in jumps. So we get dark letters, and they look amazing. 8 seconds to dry. Medium is a darker tone. It is the darkest tone on the page. It's a little bit darker than the 1.1. Medium has no feather, spread, halo sheen, or shade. And 11 seconds to dry. The scrubby of the extra fine, when you look far left to far right, you see some color variation, and we only really got some up here in some dark spots. The medium showed none, and we got none. And the smear test, you could not recover this if you smeared while you were writing. Limon. We get bleeding heavy into the page on the extra fine and the medium. Or sorry, on the 1.1 and the medium. Extra fine, not so bad. Heavy ghosting on the medium and on the 1.1. Extra fine, not so bad. But it doesn't touch the page underneath. It doesn't make the back of the page unusable, except in those cases, not this case. So, check your nibs. The 1.1 has spread and has disgusting feathers. Let's go ahead and put down the horror show. No halo, no sheen, and no shade. The extra fine has no spread, but has tiny feathers all over it, and I don't like it. It makes some of the words a little blurry, and it even blurs some of the letters in together. No halo, sheen, no shade. 6 seconds to dry. Medium, same tone as the 1.1. Medium has a lot of spread and ridiculous amounts of feathering, just like the 1.1 did. It is, I'm just going to call it feathering and move on. No halo, no sheen, and no shade. 9 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show us no color variation, and we didn't get any in the smear test. You could definitely recover if you smeared while you were writing. That is all that I have for the writing sample. Instead of finding inks that look like Diamine Sepia, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. And this is such a gorgeous brown that I didn't want to draw attention away from it. I wanted a nice dark black. I went with Diamine's Jet Black. Before I give my opinion on this ink, I would ask, if you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And if it's your first time here, I would invite you to subscribe. So what do I think of Diamine's Sepia? This is a perfect sepia tone. When I think of that in paints, this is the tone that I think of. It is absolutely amazing. And I got some of my best colors while using broad, wet pens with this ink. It really brings out the tones and the shading that this ink is so good at doing. Thanks for watching.